Whiskers the cat loved cheese. He sniffed the air. A big, yummy smell filled his little pink nose. He knew it was Cheddar Day. Mrs. Jenkins was cutting cheese for lunch. Whiskers tiptoed into the kitchen. He saw the big yellow block of cheddar on the table. But oh no, Patches the dog was guarding it. Patches wagged his tail, his eyes glued to the cheese. "Not today, Whiskers," he barked playfully. Whiskers sat back, stroking his whiskers thoughtfully. He had to outsmart Patches. But how? An idea sparked in his clever little cat brain. It was time for Operation Distraction. Whiskers dashed out of the kitchen, his paws barely touching the ground as he sprinted. He had a plan, and he needed to act fast. He found a bouncy red ball and brought it back, dropping it at Patches' feet with a mischievous glint in his eyes. Patches looked from the ball to the cheese, confused. He loved chasing balls, but the cheese smelled so good. His nose twitched as he tried to decide. "Woof! You want to play, Whiskers?" Patches barked, his tail wagging excitedly. The idea of a game was too tempting to resist. Whiskers purred and nudged the ball closer to Patches, his whiskers twitching with anticipation. He knew Patches couldn't resist a good game of fetch. As soon as Patches took the bait and started playing, Whiskers made his move. The dog was completely distracted, just as Whiskers had hoped. He leaped onto the table, his eyes on the prize. The cheese was within reach, but Patches saw him just in time. He barked and ran towards the table, his paws skidding on the floor as he tried to stop Whiskers. Whiskers grabbed the cheese and jumped down, Patches hot on his tail. The chase was on, and the kitchen echoed with their playful antics. Whiskers was faster. He dashed through the house like a tiny lightning bolt, his little legs moving at an incredible speed. He zoomed across the living room, Patches close behind, their playful chase echoing through the house. He could hear Mrs. Jenkins coming back to the kitchen. The sound of her footsteps made his heart race. He had to hide quickly. He scurried under the sofa, cheese clutched tightly in his paws, hoping he wouldn't be discovered. Patches couldn't fit under the sofa. His larger frame made it impossible. He whined, "Give me the cheese, Whiskers." Whiskers peeked out cautiously, his eyes meeting Patches. He saw Patches looking sad, his eyes filled with longing and disappointment. He knew Patches loved cheese too. Then he remembered. It was Patches' birthday today. Whiskers felt a little bad. He had been so focused on the cheese, he forgot about his friend's special day. He had been so focused on the cheese, he forgot about his friend's birthday. The guilt weighed on him. He crawled out from under the sofa, cheese still in his mouth. He walked towards Patches, determined to make things right. "Happy birthday, Patches," he said, offering the cheese. Patches looked surprised. He wagged his tail slowly, unsure of what Whiskers was doing. Whiskers dropped the cheese at Patches' feet. He then picked up a small, colourful box lying near the sofa. It was wrapped with a bow, a gift for Patches. Whiskers nudged the box towards Patches with his nose. Patches looked at the gift, then at Whiskers. He understood. He licked Whiskers' head. "Thank you, Whiskers," he barked happily. Patches began unwrapping his present. Whiskers watched, happy to see his friend excited. He had a feeling this was going to be the best birthday ever. Patches loved his gift. His eyes sparkled with joy as he unwrapped the colourful paper. It was a squeaky bone, his favourite toy in the whole world. He barked and wagged his tail, showering Whiskers with grateful licks. Whiskers purred in response, enjoying the attention. He even let Whiskers have a little nibble of the cheese. It was a rare treat for both of them. They shared the cheese, sitting side by side. Their rivalry seemed to melt away with each bite. Mrs. Jenkins came back and saw them sharing. She smiled, her heart warming at the sight. "Look at my good boys sharing," she exclaimed, her voice filled with pride. She said, patting both of them gently on their heads. They looked up at her with happy eyes. She gave them each a dog biscuit. They munched on their treats, tails wagging in unison. Even though they were rivals, they could still be friends. Their bond grew stronger each day. From that day on, Whiskers and Patches often shared their treats. They found joy in each other's company. They learned that friendship was more important than any rivalry, especially when it came to cheese and birthdays. Their celebrations were always filled with laughter and love. Whiskers and Patch's story teaches us that kindness is important, even towards our rivals. Sharing and caring for each other makes everyone happy. Remember, a little kindness, especially on special days, can make a big difference. So the next time you see someone in need, remember the story of Whiskers and Patches. Be kind, be generous, and celebrate friendship. You never know, you might even get a bite of delicious cheese in return.